You remember how huge The Lion King was. Bright colors, catchy songs, kids crying over Mufasa but still leaving the theater smiling. That was the 90s mainstream. Safe darkness, clean lessons. Meanwhile, movies like C7 and The Silence of the Lambs were dragging audiences into basements that smelled like rust and fear. Same decade, totally different mood. The 90s loved thrillers, but some of them went way too far. Not edgy for fun, not stylish cool, just cold, mean, hopeless. The kind of movies that make you sit in your car after. Let's count down the ones that were simply too dark for comfort. Number 12. Blue Steel, 1990. Blue Steel does not care about your comfort. It does not care about tidy morals. It drops you into New York City and says, here is a woman trying to be a cop in a system that barely respects her. And by the way, here is a man who gets sexually excited by violence. Have fun. Jamie Lee Curtis plays a rookie officer who shoots a robber on her first day. Sounds like standard cop thriller stuff. It is not. The twist is that a random Wall Street guy picks up the gun at the scene and becomes obsessed with her. Not in a cute stalker way. In a dead-eyed, I want to watch you kill kind of way. He starts committing murders with her weapon. He treats violence like a love letter. The movie is slick, but it feels wrong. Cold lighting, harsh city streets. No heroic speeches. Curtis is not glamorized. She is exhausted, angry, isolated. The system does not back her. Her superiors doubt her. The stalker keeps getting closer. It feels like a nightmare where every door you open leads to another hallway with no exit. Mainstream audiences in 1990 wanted thrillers with swagger. Think big stars and clever twists. Blue Steel is just bleak. It shows how thin the line is between power and vulnerability, especially for a woman in uniform. The villain is not charming. He is pathetic and terrifying. That makes it worse. He feels real. And the violence is not flashy. It is intimate, personal. The film suggests that obsession is born from boredom and entitlement. That is a nasty idea. It hits too close. There is no big speech about justice. There is no warm glow at the end. Even when the threat is stopped, it does not feel like a victory. It feels like survival. I think that is why it never became a huge mainstream favorite. It is too honest about how systems fail. Too blunt about male obsession, too uninterested in making the ride fun. It is a thriller that stares at you and says, this is how ugly it can get, and I am not softening it for you. That is not popcorn entertainment. That is a punch in the ribs. And we are just getting started. Number 11. Single White Female, 1992. Okay, this one tricked people. It looked glossy. It had attractive leads. It was marketed like a slick roommate thriller you could watch on a date night. But Single White Female is not playful. It is deeply uncomfortable. Bridget Fonda plays a woman who advertises for a roommate after breaking up with her cheating boyfriend. Enter Jennifer Jason Leigh. Quiet, shy, helpful, a little intense. You already know where this is going, but the movie does not rush it. It lingers. It watches. The new roommate slowly starts copying everything. Hair, clothes, speech. She even cuts her hair into the exact same blunt style. That moment is famous now, but at the time it was creepy, in a way people were not used to. Identity theft was not digital yet. This was physical, personal. She wants to erase herself and replace you. The film becomes suffocating. The apartment feels smaller every minute. You start noticing little details, a look that lasts too long, a smile that does not reach the eyes. The tension is not built on jump scares. It is built on proximity. Someone sleeping 10 feet away from you who may want your life more than you do. And then it turns violent, brutal in a way that shocked audiences. There is a scene with a stiletto heel that people still talk about in a whisper. It is not stylized. It is sudden and ugly. When the movie makes obsession feel intimate and invasive. Here is why I think mainstream audiences struggled with it. It hits on something too real. Loneliness, female rivalry, codependency, the fear that someone you trust completely might want to become you, not love you, replace you. There is no comforting message, no grand explanation for why the roommate snaps. Trauma is hinted at, but not neatly wrapped. The film suggests that some people are simply fractured, and if you invite them in, you might not get your space back. It also plays with sexuality in a way that made early 90s viewers uneasy. Number 10. Basic Instinct, 1992. This one was a hit. Huge hit, but do not confuse box office with comfort. Basic Instinct made money because people were curious. They were not relaxed. Michael Douglas plays a detective who gets tangled up with a crime novelist played by Sharon Stone. That sounds simple. It is not. From the first interrogation scene, the movie makes it clear this is not a normal cat-and-mouse game. Catherine Trammell is not scared. She is amused. She toys with everyone in the room, including the audience. The film is slick and glossy, big houses, fast cars, designer clothes. But underneath that shine is something cold. The sex is not romantic. It is weaponized. The violence is not heroic. It is erotic and unsettling. You are never sure who is in control. That makes people uneasy. Mainstream thrillers usually give you someone to root for. Here the cop is unstable and reckless. He drinks too much. He breaks rules. He may be manipulated, or he may be falling willingly. Catherine might be a killer, or she might just enjoy watching men destroy themselves. The movie refuses to give clean answers. And that ending. No big courtroom reveal. No speech. Just a quiet final image that suggests the danger was there the whole time. It is subtle and nasty. I think what pushed audiences away emotionally was the moral vacuum. There is no lesson, no punishment that feels satisfying. Desire leads to chaos, and that is it. The film suggests that intelligence and beauty can be predatory. That power does not always get exposed, that sometimes the monster wins simply because she is smarter. It is stylish. Yes, but it is also cynical. It leaves you questioning everyone's motives. That is not comforting. That is dark. Number 9. Primal Fear, 1996. Courtroom thrillers are supposed to be safe. Words instead of bullets. Lawyers instead of killers. Primal Fear flips that idea on its head and then laughs at you. Richard Gere plays a slick defense attorney who takes on a high-profile case involving a shy altar boy accused of murdering an archbishop. Enter Edward Norton in his breakout role. Soft voice. You stutter. Looks terrified. You want to protect him. The movie builds sympathy slowly. The legal system feels like a chess match. Gere thinks he can win on charm alone, but something feels off. Little cracks in the story, sudden flashes of anger, a hint that the scared kid might not be so simple. Then comes the twist, and it is brutal, not because of gore, because of betrayal. The audience realizes they have been played, not just the lawyer, us too. That is the darkness. The idea that evil can hide behind innocence so perfectly that even smart people fall for it. The film suggests that manipulation is easy if you understand human empathy. That is chilling. There is no grand redemption, no satisfying justice. The final scene is almost casual, a quiet confession that changes everything. It makes the whole journey feel like a trap. Primal Fear leaves you with a sick feeling, not because it is loud, because it is quiet. It tells you that monsters do not always snarl. Sometimes they whisper and wait. That kind of twist stays with you, and not in a fun way. Number 8. Misery Photo, 1990. Misery is the kind of movie that makes you afraid of kindness. Think about that. Most thrillers make you fear dark alleys or masked killers. Misery makes you fear a smiling fan with soup and a blanket. James Caan plays a famous author who gets into a car accident during a snowstorm. He wakes up in a remote house. His legs are shattered. He cannot move. The woman who saved him is Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates. She calls herself his #1 fan. At first, she is gentle, sweet even. She feeds him. She fixes him up. She talks about his books with wide-eyed devotion. Then she reads his latest manuscript. She hates the ending, and that is when the tone shifts from uncomfortable to terrifying. What makes Misery too dark for mainstream comfort is how small it is. No car chases, no explosions. Just one man trapped in a bedroom and one woman who controls every breath he takes. Annie does not see herself as evil. She believes she is correcting a mistake. That delusion is what makes her scary. The famous hobbling scene is hard to watch. It is not flashy. It is slow, painful, intimate. You feel every second, and the film does not rush away from it. It wants you to sit there. to understand that this is what obsession can do. There is also a deeper fear under the surface, the idea that art belongs to the audience. Annie feels entitled to the story. She demands a rewrite. She demands control. That is unsettling. It blurs the line between creator and consumer. Even when Paul tries to fight back, it feels desperate, clumsy, survival mode. The tension builds in quiet ways. A misplaced object, a creaking floorboard, a door that might or might not be locked. By the end, there is violence, real violence. But it does not feel triumphant. It feels exhausting. And the final moments suggest trauma lingers. Fame now carries a shadow. Every fan is a potential threat. Misery is brilliant, but it is not comforting. It tells you that the person who loves your work the most might also want to own you. That kind of idea is not easy to shake. Number 7. Arlington Road, 1999. This one is mean. I am saying that with respect. Arlington Road does not just scare you, it punishes you for expecting a happy ending. Jeff Bridges plays a widowed professor obsessed with domestic terrorism. He suspects his friendly suburban neighbors might be extremists planning something terrible. Tim Robbins plays the neighbor with that perfect, calm smile that feels just slightly off. The movie builds paranoia brick by brick. Barbecues, kids playing in the yard, friendly waves across the fence. It all feels normal. Too normal. Bridges' character starts connecting dots that may or may not exist. You begin to question him. Is he projecting his trauma? Is he losing it? That tension is uncomfortable because it attacks the idea of safe suburbia. The 90s sold that dream hard. White fences, clean streets, good schools. Arlington Road says, what if the threat is right next door and it knows you suspect it? The darkness comes from how plausible it feels. No cartoon villain speeches, no dramatic music cues telling you when to panic, just quiet manipulation, gaslighting, strategic lies. And then the ending hits. No spoilers. But let me say this. It does not reward the hero. It does not restore order. It leaves you stunned, angry even. It suggests that evil can plan better than good, that sometimes the bad guys do not just escape, they win. Mainstream audiences struggled with that. We like closure, we like justice. Arlington Road rips that away and walks off without apologizing. The final scene lingers in your mind because it feels unfair. And that is the point. Terrorism is unfair. Manipulation is unfair. The film commits to that truth all the way through. It is a thriller that dares you to trust your neighbors, and then quietly laughs when you realize you cannot. That is dark. And it does not care if you feel better afterward. Number 6. Dark City, 1998. Dark City feels like a nightmare you half remember and cannot explain. It opens with a man waking up in a bathtub. No memory. A dead body nearby. The city outside looks like it is stuck in the 1940s, but something feels wrong. Very wrong. This is not your normal thriller. It mixes noir crime with science fiction dread. The streets are always wet. The buildings stretch up like they are closing in. The night never seems to end. And the people. They feel programmed, like actors repeating lines they do not understand. The hero is hunted for murders he does not remember committing. A detective chases him. Strange pale figures called the Strangers observe everything from rooftops. At midnight, the entire city falls asleep. The Strangers rearrange buildings. Rewrite memories. Swap identities. You wake up a different person. That is the horror, not just murder. Identity collapse. Mainstream audiences in the late 90s wanted thrillers with clear rules. Dark City refuses that. It throws you into existential dread. Who are you if your memories are fake? What is love if it was implanted yesterday? What is guilt if you cannot remember the crime? The tone is heavy, oppressive. There is almost no sunlight, no comic relief. Even the romance feels fragile because it might be artificial. The movie suggests that reality itself might be a cage. It also came out around the same time as lighter blockbusters. Audiences were not ready for something this bleak and cerebral. It asks you to pay attention, to sit with confusion, to accept that the world might be controlled by forces you cannot see or fight. And the ending. It is not cheerful. It offers a kind of victory, but it feels strange, artificial, almost like another layer of the illusion. Dark City did not flop because it was bad. It struggled because it was too intense, too philosophical, too committed to its own gloom. It is a thriller that says you are not in control and never were. That is a heavy idea for a Friday night. Number 5. Happiness, 1998. Happiness is the movie people warned each other about, not because of jump scares, because of content, raw, ugly, socially. It follows several lonely characters in suburban America. On the surface, it looks like a dark comedy, but the humor is razor thin. Underneath it is a study of sexual obsession and moral decay that makes you squirm in your seat. One character is a deeply disturbed man with predatory desires. The film does not soften him. It does not turn him into a cartoon villain. It shows his daily life, his fantasies, his justifications. That is what makes it unbearable for some viewers. Another character is obsessed with finding love and keeps humiliating herself in the process. Everyone is craving connection. No one is healthy. The tone swings between awkward laughter and absolute horror. The darkness here is psychological. The film asks you to sit with people who are broken in ways you do not want to think about. It refuses to offer redemption arcs. It does not punish everyone neatly. It just shows the mess. Mainstream audiences were not ready for that level of honesty. It crossed lines that even thrillers avoided. It touched on taboo subjects without flinching. No moral lecture, no tidy ending. By the end, you feel drained. Not scared in a fun way, disturbed in a quiet way, like you just overheard conversations you were never meant to hear. Happiness is not easy to recommend, but it is fearless. It proves that the darkest thrillers are sometimes the ones without guns or car chases. Just human impulses left unchecked. That might be the scariest thing of all. Number 4. Jacob's Ladder, 1990. Jacob's Ladder is not just dark, it is disorienting. It feels like your brain is slipping on ice. Tim Robbins plays a Vietnam veteran who starts seeing things, faces that shake unnaturally, demonic shapes in subway tunnels, hospital corridors that stretch forever. At first you think it is trauma, flashbacks, PTSD. That would already be heavy. But the film keeps pushing further. Reality begins to crumble. One moment he is with his girlfriend. The next, he is back in the war. Then he is in a strange hospital with doctors who may not be doctors. Time does not flow normally. Scenes blur into each other. You question everything. What makes this too dark for mainstream audiences is the spiritual despair. This is not a simple horror story. It wrestles with death, with guilt, with the idea that maybe hell is not fire, and demons, but confusion and regret. The Vietnam angle makes it worse. The film suggests something sinister happened to soldiers. Experiments, cover-ups, betrayal by their own government. That adds paranoia to the psychological horror. There are images in this movie that stay with you. The vibrating head in the subway, the icy bath scene, the nightmarish hospital surgery sequence. They are not flashy special effects. They feel raw, handmade, almost documentary in their ugliness. And then comes the ending. It reframes everything. It does not give a heroic triumph. It gives acceptance. A quiet walk up a staircase that feels both peaceful and devastating. Mainstream thrillers often promise that if you survive the nightmare, you get your life back. Jacob's Ladder says maybe the nightmare is the last thing you experience. Maybe that is the point. It is philosophical. It is sad. It is terrifying in a slow burn way that does not let you breathe easy. That is why it was not a popcorn smash. It demands emotional effort. It asks you to confront mortality. That is heavy, especially for a decade known for flashy thrillers and big twists. Number 3. The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. Yes, it won Oscars. Yes, it made money. But do not pretend it was easy for mainstream audiences. The Silence of the Lambs walked into the 90s and dragged cannibalism into polite conversation. Jodie Foster plays Clarice Starling, a young FBI trainee hunting a serial killer known as Buffalo Bill. To catch him, she has to consult Dr. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, a brilliant psychiatrist and a cannibal. The scenes between Clarice and Lecter are electric, intimate. The camera sits close to their faces. Lecter does not shout. He whispers. He studies her. He peels back her childhood trauma like it is a puzzle. The darkness is not just the violence, though that is disturbing enough. It is the psychological chess match. Lecter enjoys probing Clarice's fears. He feeds on vulnerability. He is polite, cultured, terrifying. Buffalo Bill's storyline adds another layer of discomfort. Basement cages, identity confusion, desperation. The film does not glamorize the killer. It shows the horror of being trapped and helpless. Mainstream audiences were not used to this level of intimacy with monsters. The film forces you to listen to Lecter, to almost admire his intelligence. That moral discomfort is intense. And the ending. Lecter escapes. He calls Clarice one last time, calm, playful, promising he is having an old friend for dinner. There is no tidy justice for him. He walks into the crowd. That is bold. The monster survives, and he does it with style. The Silence of the Lambs is brilliant, but it is also deeply unsettling. It suggests that evil can be charming, that monsters can be refined, that fear can sit across from you and smile. That idea alone was enough to shake mainstream comfort, and it still does. Number 2, SE7, 1995. C7 is not just dark, it is cruel. It opens in rain, and it never really stops raining. The city feels rotten, dirty walls, broken apartments. People who look like they have already given up. From the first frame, you know this is not going to end well. Brad Pitt plays a young detective full of fire. Morgan Freeman plays the tired veteran who has seen too much. They are hunting a serial killer who murders based on the 7 deadly sins. That sounds almost poetic. It is not. Each crime scene is a gut punch. Gluttony, greed, sloth. The victims are not just killed, they are staged, displayed like warnings. The killer wants to make a statement. He believes society is corrupt, and he is delivering justice. That moral arrogance is chilling. What makes C7 too dark for mainstream comfort is the hopeless tone. There is no bright heroism, no clever one-liner. The detectives are always one step behind. The city feels infected. Even small moments like dinner conversations feel tense and fragile. Then comes the final act. The desert, the box. You know the scene. Even if you have not seen the movie, you know the idea. It is one of the most shocking endings in mainstream cinema. Not because of gore, because of despair. The killer wins. Not by escaping, by completing his design. He wanted the final sin. He gets it. And the hero breaks. There is no triumphant music, no sense of balance restored, just devastation. The film closes on a quiet line about the world being worth fighting for, but it feels like a whisper in a storm. Audiences walked out stunned. Some loved it, some hated it, but no one felt good, and that is the point. C7 refuses comfort. It says evil can be patient. Evil can be intelligent, and sometimes evil finishes what it starts. That kind of ending does not send people home smiling. It sends them home thinking. Maybe too much. Number 1, 8mm, 1999. If C7 feels like evil hiding in the shadows, 8mm feels like evil sitting under the floorboards of everyday life, quiet, buried, and waiting for someone to pull it into the light. Nicolas Cage plays Tom Wells, a private investigator hired by a wealthy widow to examine a disturbing piece of film discovered in her late husband's safe. At first, the job sounds straightforward. She simply wants to know whether the footage is real or staged. Is it a fake performance? Or something far worse? That single question becomes the doorway into a world Wells never expected to see. Because once he begins investigating, the case stops feeling like routine detective work and starts feeling like a descent. The movie pulls viewers through pornography shops, dim back alleys, anonymous warehouses, and motel rooms that look like they have absorbed decades of bad secrets. Each lead uncovers another layer of ugliness, another reminder that the truth behind the film might be darker than anyone wants to admit. At the beginning, Wells approaches the job like a professional, calm, methodical, emotionally distant. But that distance slowly erodes as he realizes the scale of the world he has stepped into. Every conversation leaves him a little more shaken. Every discovery makes it harder to pretend this is just another case. What makes 8mm so disturbing is not only the crimes it suggests, it is the film's insistence that cruelty does not survive on monsters alone. It survives because there is an audience for it, a market, a quiet system of people willing to look away as long as someone else handles the ugliness. That idea gives the movie its suffocating tone. There is no stylish glamour here, no clever cat-and-mouse game. Even the people Wells meets along the way feel damaged by the world they inhabit. Joaquin Phoenix's jittery video store clerk becomes an uneasy guide into this hidden industry, and every step forward seems to cost both men a piece of their innocence.